Hey everybody!
Hi everyone.
I'm here with Joseph Bradley today, and we just want to have a fun chat about the spirit realm, what it looks like to us, how we do the energy work that we do, which the energy work is bringing us into spiritual spaces, into alternate dimensions. And I think it'd be fun to just talk about that, how we access angels, how we, what heaven looks like, what hell is really all about, as we see it through the journey work that we do. And I don't know, I thought, do you want to start, Joe? Or
Yeah, I can start.
Okay, you start.
One of the things that me and Abby do slightly differently is I use more visual journeying techniques and Abby uses more of her heart techniques. So I'm teaching Abby how to use more visual and she's teaching me how to use more of my heart.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because we're learning from each other and we're growing from each other, which is, this type of work is what it's all about. Mm-hmm. But it's also understanding who you are and the abilities that you have. Like one of the things I do when I go into journey state, I have the ability, I've learned the ability not to let anything touch me if I don't want it to. But I can touch everything because it's my space. Or if I travel to somebody else's space, it is still me traveling into them. So I have the ability to I have control over my own spiritual body. So nothing can touch me, but I can touch anything. Yeah. And I can go pretty well anywhere. And this is the thing you have to understand about yourself. And there's a lot of people that go and talk about things sticking to you, blockages and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Well, we break down those blockages, but you create them. We go in there and help remove them, but you're the ones that ultimately create the blockages within yourself. Nobody can block you. Nobody can send anything into you and block you. You have to give it the power, and then you block yourself. Yeah. And one other quick topic I want to talk about, and there's a lot of things we want to talk about, but one other one, I think it's very important for people that have shadowy type figures that come to them, demonic beings that come to them. They're paralyzed, they can't move. How do you get rid of those? One of the things I discovered is that you show the light within your own spirit. You shine the spiritual light. So you have to get that intention before you go to sleep. And because it's generally when people experience these things is when they're sleeping. You have to allow your light to shine bright. So you light up the whole room. And then all the energy goes away, all the power goes away of the beings that are there. But how do you keep them away is the other part. I know this is very quick, but this is important to understand the differences in energies. Like people say, I'm afraid, but then they become not afraid, but then they switch it to anger. And then they switch it to frustration, anxiety, depression. All these types of energies will attract these beings back to yourself. Mm-hmm. So it's not just simply not being afraid. It's because if you're angry with them, you're going to bring them back. If you get depressed, you're going to bring them back. If you get anxiety, you're going to bring them back. If you get fear, you're going to bring them back. Mm-hmm. So you have to learn to control your emotional state. So how do you do that? It's not easy as a human being to control your emotional states. But that's what you have to do. You have to learn to understand that fear, anger, anxiety, depression, in some cases, depression is a mental illness, but in other situations, we cause it ourselves. Mm-hmm. So how do you control a state within yourself? You have to answer that question because ultimately every single person is different. You have to understand that the fear and anxiety comes from you and the anger comes from you. So you have to learn to balance that energy. And one of the best ways of doing it is to expand your heart. When you expand your heart and you allow the love come into your heart, it will all, it's amazingly how well it works. It balances your whole body. It balances your spiritual body and your physical body. So that stuff becomes secondary. The more you put love into your heart, the less fear you have and the less anger you have. So it just basically balances itself out.
I love that, Joe. Thank you for saying all of that stuff. I never know where you're gonna go with these topics. Like, but I thought it was so cool how you were bringing up about how we're working together. Joe and I do a lot of healing work on each other, and we're always talking about what we see and experience in the spirit realm, and we're always working on conquering more of ourselves and going further and further and further into what we're capable of. And one thing that you were mentioning at the beginning about the heart. I work a lot with my heart portal and my emotions. I'm an emotional type of, I'm an empathic type of person. So I'm a feelers type. And often when I close my eyes, I just walk through my heart portal and I enter into the energy world. And the energy world can look like anything depending on what the intention is. If I'm going into someone's spiritual atmosphere and they're working through the types of situations you're talking about, with dark entities, or there's vulnerability within the emotions, anxiety, traumas, emotional vulnerabilities of all kinds. You can walk into the energetic version of what that looks like and share love with it, right? So the heart portal is such a powerful, 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 powerful tool. And it's interesting because I don't necessarily need to see the spirit realm to see the spirit realm, because it's like blind people don't have to use their eyes to see what is all around them. They have other senses that then express what it looks like. And it's so strange because how do I explain how I see things? If I walk into a space that's totally dark, I just feel around like a bat, and then all this information comes back to me, and I can hear with like energetic sonar exactly this is there's trees here, or there's forest, this is a beach scene, or this is a hell space, or this is I'm feeling the anxiety right now. So I work with the heart. Joe is such a third eye type, and we're really great at balancing each other. And I've been working with using my third eye more, and I'm not sure why. I don't really need to use my third eye, but there's value to it, right? So I'm just choosing to just, bam, it's open right now. My eyeball is actually open, and I'm seeing the spiritual universe. And all you do to do that is simply, my third eye is open. What's the first thing that you see in your imagination? Really, it's like, what's in your imagination? All right, well, I go back to what I feel. So, well, I'm feeling that, I feel I'm walking into an empty open space. The more that I feel this space, it's not so empty anymore, and I start to feel there's grasses growing on the sides of the walls, and there's grass on the ground. Wow, this is getting interesting. Are we actually seeing the spirit realm? Yeah, we are. Yeah. That is the spirit realm. The spirit realm is as close as when you close your eyes. It's right in there. It's in your heart. It's you're already connected to it. You're already experiencing it through your emotions, your imagination, through all of these energy senses. It's already around you. But
yeah, and it flows.
Yeah,
the key
flows,
here is when you're doing the type of energy work, is not to think, because when you clear your mind, then that's when you have access to spirit realm much clearer. Yeah. And the more senses you bring in, the more powerful the journey state can be. Right. And when you start bringing in your heart, is a really big part of it. You start seeing things in detail like you do in everyday life, and you get the feelings and the touch and the smells. When you bring all your senses into it, the experience is unbelievable. In some cases, too unbelievable, but that's okay. Sometimes you see details that I prefer not to think.
We've seen some very gruesome things that you just have to accept it as it is. So when we do this work, like you were talking about earlier, about you have to be in control of your emotions. Because if we go and do this work and it's like it's scaring us, or it's creating anxiety in us, we're not able to hold our ground as the Christ consciousness emanation that is, I am in acceptance of all things. This is somehow a reflection of your choice, or perhaps it's something I'm doing a journey on myself and it's a reflection of my own choice. But whatever it is, we have to choose love, balance, appreciate. It's acceptance and even appreciation. Because everything is about the learning. But whatever you can do to not get emotionally attached through what we would define as negative emotions, right? Negative emotions are still teachers. They're still teaching us and helping us to grow. But they create a vulnerability through the gift of fear. And then the fear is what creates that stickiness. So
yes, that's a really good point, Abby, because your emotional state is what you work with. So if you go in there with love, you work with love. If your love turns to fear, then you're working with negative energies. And that's when all that negative stuff comes into yourself and create things, the fear, the sticky stuff. But if you work with the love energies, you don't have the fear. It doesn't even come up. Right. So the more you learn to use love as the essence of everything that you do in the spirit realm, the fear doesn't come into play. Right. So you can see the most horrific scene, but you see the scene as a wound, as things that need to be healed. That's what. So the more horrific it is, the more it needs healing. It don't look at it as a hell space, because to us it's not. The energy feels like a hell space. It looks like a hell space, but it might not be. It's your
personal hell.
Exactly. It could just very mean if a person that's really ill, that space is going to look like a hell space. Right. But that just means it needs healing.
It needs love.
Yeah.
And whether you're in the spirit realm or you're in the human world, love has power in both places. Love has power here. And love brings us into balance. Love of self, love and appreciation of all experiences, embracing the experience instead of resisting the experience. These are bringing you into a personal power. And when we go into the journey state, into the spiritual universe of your spiritual atmosphere, I mean, you are a universe of your own kind. You're full of vibrations and frequencies and alternate consciousness. You are a collective consciousness of your own. So many different parts of your identity, so many different lifetimes, so many different aspects that create all that you are. And so the more you work on that balance with the love, we can go in your spiritual atmosphere and actually experience that ourselves. And the more that you're dealing with the struggles, like you were saying, physical illnesses, like people who have, are really sick, their body can actually emanate very disturbing images, right? Because the body's in suffering right now. And the vibrations create suffering images. And so...
well, there's one of the things I like to mention is that you have somebody that is very depressed and is visualizing themselves killing themselves, for instance, inside their own mind. When you go in the spiritual atmosphere, you are killing your spiritual atmosphere over and over and over. You see that. You'll see the person killing themselves. Like a lot of the times I'll see this person walking towards them and just falling down, smack, and all you do is watch these pieces of yourself slamming into the ground. Like, it might sound horrible, but it is, what it's doing is that when you do something in the physical, it is connected to spiritual, and the spiritual is connected to the physical. Right. So these echoes that you create in your mind can also continue in the spirit realm. So when you're trying to stop this behavior, you still have echoes that come back in the spirit realm. So you need to state very clearly that I don't want to have these images in this energy in my mind anymore, in my mental space. So you state it, and you ask to have it removed. If you can't do it yourself, ask for God, ask for Jesus, ask for the angels, whatever you believe in, to help take that away from you. But if you state things, you'd be amazed how well that actually works, because you have control over your own spiritual atmosphere,
negative and positive. So like if you're having a really bad day and you're like, oh, I just want to kill this person, or I can't stand life, or I hate myself, or whatever, you're actually creating an energy reality, and you're doing things in it. You may not be aware of it, but it really is happening. So we've got to be very careful with how we're choosing to work with the energies, because your emotions, your thoughts, your visualizations that you don't even realize you're having, I'm strangling this person, I'm just saying it, but I'm visualizing and I'm not acknowledging I'm visualizing, and you're having a psychic moment and you're manifesting, you're creating manifestation energy. So be careful, right, with how you're choosing to work with the manifesting negative energy or the positive energy. And depression is a tough one, because to find the strength to say, I want to live. You know, a lot of times if you're depressed, you're saying, I want to die, I want to die, I want to die, I want to die, over and over and over again. So to start saying, I want to live, I want to live, I want to live, to start saying that instead is very hard, but is very powerful. And that statement alone starts to transform the energy itself. So if you're not a journey healer like we are, you still have the power through making the choice, okay? Because that choice then transforms the energy and then releases the vulnerability from your own spiritual atmosphere and any other energetic attachments to it, okay?
Yeah.
So, but do you want to say anything else about that?
Well, I mean, I try all different kinds of different things, and one of the things I like to do is, like, if you have the ability to have the person there with you, and it could be a friend, it could be a lover, it could be your children. I take my hand and place it on their heart, and I go through that and into that portal, and it goes directly into it. But you can actually take your hand and put it over a person's body and allow yourself to sense, like, open your third eye, open your heart, and you will start to sense where the problems are. And you will know, like, it's amazing, by doing things like this, you start to discover so many things. And, like, your spiritual atmosphere, you have different levels. At the highest surface, you literally instantaneously get in a bad mood. Instantly, that changes your outer layer, and there's all kinds of stuff happening. Like she says, but you can very quickly stop that behavior and clean that up, and that will instantly make you feel better.
Yes,
it's amazing how easy it is to do when you're aware of it. She actually taught me to just go to the first layer, clean it up. Okay, great. You realize right off the bat what you're actually thinking, how that creates unbelievable things in your spiritual atmosphere that are on the surface layer.
Yes.
But that surface layer is within 30 seconds, 5 seconds, you can clean it up.
Yes.
And it's amazing how much that makes you feel.
And the surface layer is connected to what is the most present experience.
Yes.
And what we do is we go deep. We go deep into your spiritual atmosphere to clean what is the roots of the vulnerabilities, the belief systems that are creating the attraction to the negative patterns that keep happening in your life. Stuff like this. But at the surface is, how do I feel today? I feel terrible today. So, or I feel happy today. We'll be able to go in for just the top layer and just experience that. And it really, all it takes is just I see the outline of this person that I'm going to look at their surface layer, and I'm just let it just become an image. And then and just go into parts of it, like, wow, there's some birds over here, or wow, there's some weird electrical energy around your head, so I'm just gonna turn that into something warm and soft. And the birds look like they lost their nest, so I'm gonna go and give them a nest. These are all pictures, creative pictures, that are actually talking to you, talks to me and Joe about your energy balance based on the pictures. The pictures are our tool to translate the vibrations. And it sounds really, really childlike, but it's powerful, powerful, powerful stuff. And it's how we as human beings, the easiest way for us as human beings to get connected with the spirit realm, through our imaginations, through our creative senses, through letting the pictures manifest and the feelings to come with those pictures.
And letting them flow without you thinking. That's the tricky part. That a lot of people think instantly stops the flow.
Yeah.
But one of the things that is very important, and the spirit world told me one time, that when you speak, it doesn't stop speaking.
Yeah.
So if you say a negative thought or a negative word, that echoes throughout time.
Yeah.
If you say a positive, it echoes throughout time.
Yeah.
So the more positive you are, the more you're sending to the universe positive energy. The more negative you are, the more negative energy that you put out into the universe. But the other important part is how long you stay in a state of thinking. Because that thinking is on the surface layer. The more you think, so a person that's really depressed, the more they're depressed, the deeper they fall. And the deeper that energy goes in within themselves. It might start up here, but then ends up going really deep. And the deeper it goes, the harder it is to release it and to change that energy pattern. So when you think always bad thoughts, eventually them bad thoughts will go into your spiritual atmosphere and into your physical body and make you sick. It can create all kinds of problems. And it takes a lot to get it out.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're not even aware of it. But what I find very fascinating is when you go into the surface layers, you start to discover how what you do right at this moment affects your spiritual atmosphere. But the more you stay in that state, the deeper that energy goes in. So the more happy you are all the time, it goes into your core, and then you basically just send out beautiful energy all the time. But if you're really negative all the time, it sinks into yourself, and then you become a negative person.
Yeah.
And then you become unaware of it because it becomes a pattern of behavior. So
I love the conversation.
Yeah.
And we didn't get to talk much about like the beautiful side of the spirit realm.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Because one of the things, it's funny, I was doing journeys for a long time. And I was going and doing all this kinds of stuff, and I discovered love and how powerful love is. When I discovered that, it totally changed everything for me. Because when you work with love, it balances you out. The fear vanishes. Like, I mean, it's amazing how powerful that is. But the only reason we can go into these spaces is because we work with love. So people that don't understand this stuff will say that you're going into negative spaces because you're negative. No, we go in there with love, and that's the only thing that can heal these spaces. And no judgment. If I have meet a demonic being, I go into that energy, I go into the heart, I go back to the beginning of how that soul was twisted that way, change that reality, and that changes everything.
Yes.
It rebalances all that energy.
You'd be amazed by how many dark demonic souls are actually angels incarnate.
And yourself.
Yes.
And yourself.
And yourself.
Yeah.
And exactly. I mean, it's a really fantastic reality. I know it's like demons are evil, they're bad, but they're actually the reflections of the broken parts of us, broken parts of our collective.
Yeah.
And we need to bring those parts back into our hearts so that they can heal and be released back into heaven or source or back into our higher selves or whatever that might be. But we have the power to help each other. We have the power to heal spirits and demons and humans and animals and plants and everything.
Well,
we have the power.
Yeah, when I go in and when Abby goes in, we discover very quickly that I would say probably 80% of the dark energies we come across is directly a reflection of your own soul.
Yeah.
The other 20%, you can break it down into different categories. But a lot of the time, it's us that creates these demonic beings because they are us. They are the things that we don't work on. The things that are lost within, because this is the world. We've done horrible things throughout our lifetimes.
Yes.
But you have to learn to bring that into your balance and bring it back into your heart. But talking about heaven, let's talk about heaven and how that makes you feel. Because I've walked through the gates of heaven multiple times, and
you've even walked through an alternate version of heaven where the gateway to it is through the chaos, is through the pathway of
it is
challenge.
Chaos and not chaos, because when I went into the darkness, that was in blackness, but the blackness had no chaos. You actually, in order to get to that version of heaven, you had to walk through the darkness, and as you're walking through, you had to release all this stuff into the darkness before you could even get to it. Otherwise, you would not be able to get to it. So if you're not willing to let go of the things you no longer need, then you're not going to go into heaven, or you're not going to go into other reality. I was even told that version of heaven is what's coming. That version of heaven is where we all came from, or at least most of us came from. And the version of heaven that we see now is actually not real heaven. It's a reflection of what heaven used to be.
Yeah.
And the real true heaven, we're not ready to go back to that yet because we haven't finished our learning. When we finish our learning, that's when we go back into that version of heaven. And the only way to get to that is to bring yourself into balance. Every aspect of yourself. No judgment, no fear, acceptance of all of who you are. That's when we can all walk into that version of heaven. And that's where we become truly ascended. And you have the ability to travel to the most beautiful higher levels of existence. And I say, do it.
Yes.
Because that raises your love vibration within yourself.
Yes.
You don't go into the dark places until you learn to understand love.
Mm-hmm.
And when more you understand love in the light, you will start to understand love in the darkness. That is harder, and it comes later on. Mm-hmm. When you start to understand and reduce the fear within yourself. When you're afraid, don't go into the places that make you more afraid.
Yeah.
Go into a space that takes the fear from you, and then when you do take baby steps into these spaces until you learn. And one of the best ways of doing it is to ask your guides, ask the angels to take you to where you need to go next to learn to go deeper. You don't skip to the top of the mountain without walking all the way up the mountain to understand all the parts it took to get there. You can't jump too forward or you're just going to go backwards.
Yes.
You have to go through the hard stuff, and sometimes the hard stuff is beautiful and sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
So
I love this. I feel like we could talk forever about this, but I think we should cut her short here. Yeah, so. I think this is a good video for right now, and I hope you guys enjoy this. I'm sure it's going to give you a lot to think about. If you're ever interested in working with Joseph and we do sessions together, actually. I would do an hour of work and Joe will do an hour of work, which gives you 2 psychic perspectives and 2 hours of energy work and wisdom, which is really cool. And we help people with psychic attack experiences or people with just any old issue. We'd be happy to help. And then also we do departed loved ones. We do sessions like that. So yeah.
The things when you're doing work in the spirit realm, it's really unlimited to what you can actually do.
Yes.
But the key here that me and Abby's goal is to really truly get you to understand the power that you have within your own soul. Mm-hmm. Because once you can do that, you don't need us anymore.
I know. We're advocates for helping you to discover who you truly are.
Yes.
By helping you to let go all of that clutter stuff that you kind of got absorbed into through this lifetime and other lifetimes, to get back into the empowerment of how powerful and amazing that you are. So now you can start to walk your own pathway. And now you can start to just live for yourself because you've grown beyond it, and now you're self-empowered. You're working within yourself. You're working with your higher self. You're feeling strong and empowered with love.
The more you work with within yourself, the more stronger, confident you become.
Yes.
And it continues. There's no plateau here. You keep growing throughout your whole lifetime, and lifetimes in the future. Like, it's amazing. The more you do this type of work, the more you feel confident in yourself, the more you start to truly understand the power within yourself. And that will change your life. Don't second guess yourself. Everything is perfect the way it is.
Yeah.
But don't take the spirit realm completely literally all the time, because it will confuse you.
Yeah.
Just to give you a warning. There's a lot of metaphorical stuff that's based on feelings. It's based about energy around it. Could look like this, doesn't mean it is that. You're going to be told that you have a consciousness, say, of Christ, for instance. Doesn't mean you're Christ. It just means you have the heart of Christ, the ability, because we're attached to it. Like, you can feel close to Jesus, but you're not Jesus.
Yeah.
You could feel like you're Buddha, but you're not Buddha. So it's like, don't get wrapped up into what they say, because what they say sometimes is designed to get you to move a certain way, to feel a certain way, but not necessarily literally that's what you are.
Yes, to give you perspective.
Yes.
But don't be afraid to embrace the perspective too, because I remember the first time the spirit realm showed me how old my soul was. I was like, don't show me that. I like that. I don't want, like, my ego. I don't want it. I don't need an ego-based experience. I don't really care how old my soul is. Like, but the thing is once I came into acceptance of who I am, it actually made me stronger, and I chose to value myself more. Instead of like, I don't need to know that. It's not about, that's not what I need to know. Like, but you start to really see and appreciate yourself in a way that you wouldn't allow yourself to otherwise. So sometimes they do say things that is overwhelming, but at the same time, it's to shift your energy field and get you into a perspective. And you explore, how is this perspective helping me to grow with love?
Yeah.
Or how's this perspective making me feel confused? You know, am I ready for that perspective yet? Am I not? So you work with what you're ready for, and it's always a gift. No matter what is said, it's always a gift in teaching you more about yourself and your psychic connections and all that stuff. So.
And you are overwhelming. When you start to see your true spirit, you're
Yeah.
like, oh my God, that's what it is. Because
It
you are, oh my God.
Everybody, I'm telling
Yes,
you,
you're like amazing.
all souls are
Yeah.
extraordinary.
Yes.
All souls are extraordinary.
So don't be afraid of being extraordinary, because you are.
No, yeah, and don't be afraid to admit that to yourself.
Yes.
And love yourself.
And allow yourself to, when you start doing journeys, your spirit knows what to do. Like, there's lots of times where I try to get in the way of it, and it's like I'll give you one example. This might sound really crazy, but I was on this planet and I was supposed to move this sun, to another planet to create another sun. So I go around there and I spin it around and thinking, then I second guess myself, and all of a sudden I'm back. I like crash down the planet flat in my face. Like, what just happened? And then I said, okay, fine. I'm just gonna let this flow. This is where you get your ego and stuff in play, and you'll just end up screwing it up. So I ended up going back out and I spinning around super fast and actually pulled the energy from the sun and moved it to the other area to prevent this specific energy from being overwhelmed by the sun. It's like, it might sound crazy, but you can do amazing things in a journey state. Mm-hmm. Your soul knows what to do.
Yeah.
Don't interfere with it. You have the ability to change and move it around and make decisions, but your soul knows what to do. I do things with writings and runes that I have no idea what I'm doing, but I still do it because my soul knows exactly what to do, and I even know what they say. But you look at a rune, it's not just a rune, it's not just a number. You look behind it, there's like equations that go on for forever behind these runes. So there's things that we never going to understand.
It's from the ancient parts of our soul, where today, the versions of ourselves that we are today, we don't have access to it. Our humanness does not have access to it. But if we go into the soul state, the recollection comes up from deep down inside. And then I don't know how I know this, I just seem to know this, and now I'm doing it.
Yes.
And that happens, that actually happens.
You get the feelings come in, you let it happen.
Yes.
Because as soon as you stop to try to think
try to make sense
and try to
of
make sense of
world,
it, it's not going to flow.
Just go with it. Just go with it. Right.
And that's the key to doing journeys, is to allow it to flow.
Yes.
You have control to a certain point. Mm-hmm. But when you try to understand every little concept of it, you're going to know when to move to the next level. You know, okay, I'm done here, I'm going to go to the next, and the scenes will automatically change. It's okay, because when they start to change, it means you're done of this specific scene and you move on to the next scene and next scene. And when I'm in these scenes, I'm like in a movie, and when I'm trying to describe it, I feel and sense things at a level I wish I could show you, because it is thousands of times more powerful than what I'm trying to explain, because I'm trying to put into words this amazing scene that it's, you can't, and I try to put the feelings into it, but how can you completely put all these senses in?
That's such a good point, because as a human being, we can only process so much at once. But in the journey state, you'll see, like, there's like, oh my gosh, there's like so many communications. There's like all these communications, all this information that's coming back to me. I don't even know where to begin here. So I can only tell you just a portion, a fragment of the bigger picture. And that's it. And but that's still so extraordinary. That's still so powerful. But yet I can still experience all these infinite things happening. I just can't process it all. I know it's happening. I'm aware of it happening, but I can only focus on one little tiny tidbit of the bigger picture at a time. But that's just it. That's perfectly fine. That's all we're supposed to be able to do as human beings. So we embrace it. This is our gift. And it is a gift. And it's awesome. Totally awesome.
It's definitely interesting.
That's
for sure. Okay, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up here. It's going to be a pretty long video. So.
I hope you enjoyed this. If you want to reach out to either one of us, or if you want to work with both of us, my website is abbeynormalswisdomquest.com.
And mine is www.amonrosawakening.com.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching, and we wish you a wonderful day.
Take care. Have a great day, everybody.